What's up everyone, I'm Frovlax and today I'm trying to Nuzlocke Pokémon Black 2 with only Steel types. So, the rules for this challenge are the usual. Play the game in set mode, no items in battle besides held items, no overleveling, if a Pokémon faints it needs to be boxed, and I can only catch one Steel-type Pokémon per route. If you want, check the description for more detailed rules. I know what you guys are thinking, Steel types are busted, and well, you're not wrong. But they are awesome, and Pokémon Black 2 is a pretty hard game, and since I want to have fun, this is gonna help to balance things. Besides, it's not like this is gonna be a piece of cake. We still have to deal with some really hard battles, so let's just jump into the game and see if we can beat this challenge. It's time to grab our starter, and I chose Snivy. This way our rival will have an Ember that, being both fire and fighting, will definitely be an issue for our Steel type team. Now, we have to go to the ranch, where we catch a Riolu that we named Puppy, with a relaxed nature meaning less speed, which is not ideal but we'll manage. Now, we put him on a leash and walk him around for a while until he evolves into Lucario. Probably the most busted starter we'll ever have in any of these runs. We have our first rival battle now, but with our overpowered starter, we easily take out Tappy with a couple of quick attacks. On the way to the first gym, we meet this weird dude practicing his superhero landings. I'm pretty sure he just fractured something right there. After returning to Aspertia City, we go to the gym and challenge Sharon. It starts with Patrat, but as you can imagine, with Puppy on the team, this wasn't a hard battle. A couple of quick attacks and we took him out. Next is Lillipup, that crits us with Tackle, doing almost all of our HP, but we basically just had to spam quick attack in this battle until we beat Sharon and win the first badge. We head straight to Verbank now, where we grabbed our second teammate, a Magnemite with mild nature that we named Screwed, and we immediately go to the second gym and challenge Roxy, that opens up with Coughing, but since Steel types are immune to poison, you can guess how this goes. 2 Sonic Booms take out Coughing, and next is Whirlipede, but he mainly spams Protect, so we eventually take him out with a couple of Sonic Booms, beating Roxy and getting the second badge. And after finishing all the Pokestar Studio shenanigans, we get into the boat to Castelia City, where we get this really amazing transition. I completely forgot that this game looked so good. Now, we can go to Relic Passage, and after wasting all of our money in repels, we finally find a Drillbur. This is Edward, our third teammate, and he has a lonely nature, which is actually insane. But he is not a Steel type yet, so we can't use him. Anyway, it's time to go to the next gym and challenge Burr, that opens up with Swatlu against Puppy, and since he mainly spams String Shot, we take him out with a few returns. Next is the Ace Leavanny, and he actually managed to get us pretty low with a few Razor Leafs. We could actually be in trouble if we hadn't had leftovers to keep us healthy, but after a few returns and counters, we defeat it. Lastly is Dwebble, which is not a threat and ended up going down with a few Force Bombs, and just like that, we got the third badge. Right after that, we have to battle Colress, our fellow Steel-type trainer. He starts with Magnemite against our Screwed. We use Sonic Boom, but got hit with a Thunder Wave, and after him using a potion and me getting fully paralyzed a few turns, I'm forced to switch for Puppy, that got hit with Spark that also paralyzed us, forcing us to tank another Spark before finishing him with Force Palm. Luckily for us, the last Pokemon is Clink, which is an easy one-shot with Force Palm. On the way to the next gym, our Screwed evolved into Magneton, and this means we can go to Nimbasa City Gym and challenge Eliza, the Electric Queen, that starts with a Molga against our Screwed. She uses Volt Switch into Zapstrika while we set up the Reflect. She hits us with Pursuit when I was sending out Puppy, but it barely does anything. We've missed Bone Rush twice, but since she was going for Pursuit and Quick Attack, leftovers healed us to full every time. And by the time we hit the first Bone Rush, Reflect ended, and I'm actually scared of Zapstrika because of Flame Charge, but for some weird reason she never used it, so with one more Bone Rush we defeat the Ace. Next is Fluffy, but we hit a Bone Rush crit for the KO. Emola comes back out, but with 2 returns we take him out. Well, I know this early game hasn't been much of a challenge, but things are bound to be more rocky from here on out. Especially since the next gym uses ground types, and before getting there, our Edward evolved into Excadrill, which is a huge upgrade for us. Okay, it's time to face probably the hardest challenge of this run, so we needed to come up with some sort of strategy. For starters, we go back to Relic Passage and farm 10 red shards, and teach Ice Punch to Puppy. Then we give Eviolite to Screwed and teach him Reflect. But before going to the gym,
push the goddamn button! You heard what she said.
This is it. I think we did all we could, so might as well go challenge Clay. It starts with Krokorok against Screwed that gets intimidated. We set up the Reflect, allowing us to tank the Bulldoze. Now we send out Puppy, while he uses Stormant, so we just one-shot him with Ice Punch. Next is Sunslash, and we go for Work Up this time cause we can't one-shot it, so we are forced to take a Bulldoze. He hits us with Fury Cutter that does almost nothing, but also survives the Ice Punch, which is actually ideal cause Reflect just ended. So I send Screwed back out while he uses an Hyper Potion. We use Reflect again, but this time Bulldoze brought us to 16 HP, so we have to swap for Puppy that unfortunately has to tank a Bulldoze, and that defense drop is definitely an issue. Sunslash uses Fury Cutter this time, while we get an Ice Punch crit for the KO. Lastly is the Ace Excadrill, but with Reflect up, I know I can tank at least one more Bulldoze. Luckily, he just goes for Rock Slide, and we don't flinch, so we hit a Force Palm for massive damage. Now, all we have to do is tank one last Metal Claw before finishing him with Force Palm, giving us the win against Clay and the 5th badge. Well, I actually sweat a little bit on this one. After the battle, we can get some new teammates. The first one is a Carablast in Route 6 that we named Knight, with a modest nature which is terrible, but we can't be picky, so we evolve it right away into Excavalier and add it to the team. Right after that, we reach Charstone Cave, where we can find the next teammate, a Ferroseed that we're gonna name Bush, with a naive nature which is also pretty bad. Two Pokemon, both with bad natures and a quad weakness to fire, is just great. But while we're in Charstone Cave, we evolve our Screwed into Magnezone. Now, it's time to go to the Flying Gym and challenge Skyla, that starts with Suobat against our Screwed, and since we only know one electric move, we have to use Volt Switch to KO it. Now, we have Puppy on the field as she sends out Swanna, so I send Screwed back out to one-shot her with Volt Switch. Lastly, Skyla uses Skarmory, but I know our Puppy can tank it, so we just spam Force Palm until we bring him down, getting the 6th badge. We catch a plane to Lentimas Town in another beautiful transition that I completely forgot it existed, and now we can catch another amazing teammate, a Skarmory, that we named Air Force, with Lax Nature, which is okay. And now we can fly back and go to Mistletoe Cave where we missed an encounter. This time we catch an Aron that we named Tank, that has a docile nature. And once we got back, we evolve our Bush into Ferrothorn. Now it's time to finally fight our rival, and it's weird how few rival battles we have in this game. Anyway, it starts with Unpheasant against our Screwed. He goes for Taunt while we use Volt Switch for the one shot. And I was expecting Ember, so I sent out Edward, but he sends out Simipour, which to my surprise, we one-shot with Earthquake. Now it's time to fight the scary Ember, but he can't outspeed or tank an Earthquake from Edward, and it goes down in a one-shot. I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting the battle a little bit more challenging. Well, this video might end up being short if we keep having such a smooth sail. Anyway, we reach Route 9, where we caught a Ponyard that we named Shogun with a quirky nature. And now it's time to go to the Dragon-type gym and challenge Drayden, and I'm definitely expecting some issues here. It starts with Druddigan against Screwed, and we set up the Reflect, which allows us to tank his revenge a lot better. We then go for Flash Cannon, and we do a lot, so after tanking a Crunch, we can finish him with one last Flash Cannon. His next Pokemon is Flygon, so I immediately swap for Air Force to dodge the Earth Power. And after getting flinched 3 times in a row, we finally do some damage with Steel Wing, only to get hit by Dragon Tail that dragged in Edward, so I have to switch back to Air Force to dodge the Earth Power again. But once again, we kept getting flinched. Does this guy have Serene Grace or something? We only managed to hit him once before having to swap again. This time, I sent out our Knight that hot-hitted Dragon Tail, so Bush was dragged out, and has to tank an Earth Power before hitting an Iron Head that takes out Flygon. Now, we have to face the Ace Axorus that starts using Dragon Dance, which is pretty scary, but we do some decent damage with Iron Head, and it keeps setting up while we just keep using Iron Head. He recovers a bit with a Citrus Berry, and we go once more for Iron Head, but he managed to survive on red health. Luckily, he flinched. Then, he goes for a Hyper Potion, but we still do almost half with Iron Head, and after we brought him to red health again, we got hit by Dragon Tail that brings out Edward, that finishes the job with Earthquake, defeating Drayden and winning the 7th badge. Only one more to go. Apparently, Team Plasma built a ship that shoots ice beams. If only there were creatures in this game that could do the exact same thing, they wouldn't have to waste any money on it. We have to face an admin or something like that who only uses glass cannons. He is faster, but we resist pretty much everything he throws at us, so we just have to spam Force Palm to one-shot every member of his team. It's time to go to the 8th and last gym and challenge Marlon. He starts with Caracosta against Bush, and we break his 30 with Iron Head that luckily flinched him. Now we can finish him with Power Whip. He sends out Wailord now, but we manage to hit another Power Whip for the one shot. Lastly is the Ace Jellicent that hits us with a Scald that burned us, which allow him to survive a Power Whip. He also recovered a bit with a Citrus Berry, and thanks to that, he managed to survive another Power Whip. And since I know we'll use an Hyper Potion now, I send out Screwed that takes some damage from Scald, while it goes for Discharge that does massive damage, also paralyzing it, allowing us to KO it with one last Discharge, winning us the battle and the last badge. Right after that, we added Tank to the team and evolved it into Iron. He is the only Pokemon that I have that can learn Surf, so we might as well, right? It's time to battle our fellow Steel-type trainer one last time, and Colress starts with Magneton against our puppy. We go for Aura Sphere that he survives thanks to Sturdy and hits us hard with Volt Switch. Magnezone shows up now, so I swap for Edward that is immune to the Thunder Wave. We go for Earthquake that he also survives on 1 HP thanks to Sturdy, while doing a bit of damage with Flash Cannon. Now we just finish him with Strength. Colress sends out BEM next, but Edward just one-shots him with an Earthquake. We have to deal with Klinklang now that is holding an air balloon, so we pop it using Strength, while Klinklang uses Shift Gear, and he got greedy and used one more Shift Gear, so we just take him out with an Earthquake. Metang comes out now, but Earthquake one-shots it. The 1 HP Magneton comes back out, but we finish him with Strength. Edward is such a beast, I really love this mod. It's time to grab our final encounter, a Metang that we named Comet, with a quiet nature, and the high special attack is great and all, but the lower speed is not ideal. And once we finish taking care of the first Pokemon fusion ever created, the Kyurem, it's time to have the last Team Plasma battle against Getsis. He starts with Cofagrigus against our Screwed that used Discharge for massive damage, while we take a bit of damage from Shadow Ball that also lowered our special defense. But with one more Discharge, we bring him down. He sends out Seismitoad next, so I immediately swap for Air Force to dodge the Earthquake. And now I swap for Bush, and luckily he missed Muddy Water, so we got a free switch. Now we have to tank a Drain Punch, but with one Power Whip, we take him out. We have to deal with Electros now, and I'm actually scared of this one, so I swap for Screwed that I know it can survive a Flamethrower. And I use Volt Switch to do some sheep damage while we send out Edward that loses a bunch of HP. We used Strength and did a bit more damage than what I anticipated, and we left him in full restore range, which is a huge problem because now we are at 11 HP. So we use one last Strength before swapping into Bush. Luckily, Electros used Crunch on the switch, meaning it took some extra damage from Iron Barbs. But unfortunately, we have to make a sacrifice right here. Bush, you had a good run. Now Electros is low enough, so Edward comes back out and finishes him with Strength. The next Pokemon is Drapion, but Edward is out for blood and one-shots it with Earthquake. Toxicroak comes out next, and he has Sucker Punch, so I swap for Air Force that loses a bunch of its HP to a couple of Brick Breaks before hitting Fly, that he managed to survive with 1 HP. And I was expecting a full restore here, so I sent out Screwed to set up the Reflect, but he didn't heal, and we got hit with a Brick Break that took us out. The second Pokemon lost in one battle. I guess I was getting too cocky. This time, we sent out Puppy to finish him with Aura Sphere. And lastly is the scary Hydreigon that hits us hard with Dragon Rush, but our Puppy just beats him into a pulp with Close Combat. But this victory came at great cost. Those were some really unexpected sacrifices. We had to make some adjustments to our team, so we evolved Shogun into Bisharp and Comet into Metagross. I wasn't going to use a pseudo-legendary, but after those losses I kinda have to. And once we've crossed Victory Road, we have the final rival battle. It starts with Unpheasant against Edward, and I messed up. I misclicking Earthquake, which does nothing. We got hit with Swagger, which means I have to swap, so I send out Tank that easily takes the Facade, but gets hit with Swagger right after. Luckily, we didn't hit ourselves and the +2 Rock Slide one-shots it. Next is Bouffalant, and I decided to risk since we were at +2 attack, but Earthquake does a lot more damage than what I thought, which put us in a tough spot, but we managed to break through confusion again and hit a powerful Iron Head. It's time to swap into Air Force now, while he uses a Max Potion. We do some damage with Fly, but Wild Charge just hits too hard. I'm sure he's gonna use it again, so I go for a clean switch into Edward that finishes him with Earthquake. Next is Simipour, but we got a high roll on Earthquake and easily took him out. Lastly is Ember, and I was scared of this guy when I first started this challenge, but with Edward facing him, he is doomed. One Earthquake is all it takes to finish this battle. We finally arrived at the Pokémon League, and after the final adjustments to our team, we go challenge Chantal, the Ghost-type user that starts with Cofagrigus, against our boy Edward. It uses Zords Dance while taking a bit of damage from Shadow Ball, and it's time to spam Shadow Claw to do some magic and make some health bars disappear. Cofagrigus, Chandelure, Golurk and Rifflim all one-shotted by our scissor hands. Well, I'm pretty sure this was the easiest Elite Four battle of my life. Now it's time to go into the Dark Room and challenge Grimsley. Let's see if this guy is a bit more challenging. It starts with Liper against our puppy. We take a fake out, but thanks to inner focus we don't get flinched, and with an Aura Sphere we one-shot it. Next is Crocodile, that lowers our attack with Intimidate, but it doesn't matter, cause we're going for Aura Sphere. What it matters is that I forgot our stupid nature that lowers our speed, and we got outsped and one-shotted with Earthquake. Losing our starter at this point in the game because I'm such an idiot is really painful, but we gotta move on. So I send out Air Force that easily tanks a crunch while doing a bunch with X Scissor. So after taking another crunch, we take him out. Next is Crafty, and I use X Scissor again, but we don't do much damage, but luckily neither does he. So after tanking a Brick Break, we just use Fly to finish him. Lastly is B-Sharp, so I just send out Shogun that can easily tank his hits and finish the battle with a Brick Break. Well, having one Pokemon down will definitely make things harder now. We don't have time to lick our wounds, cause now we have to face Caitlyn and her Psychic types. She starts with Musharna against our Shogun, and she managed to survive the Night Slash and hits us with Charge Beam that gave her a special attack buff. She also used the full restore, but it doesn't really matter, cause we can just finish it with a couple of Night Slashes. Reuniclus comes out next, and I'm not sure I can one-shot it, so I swap for Knight to tank the Focus Blast, which he managed to hit twice in a row, because we all know that's what usually happens when we use it, right? Anyway, we take him out with X Scissor. Gothitelle shows up, but we are low, so I'm forced to swap back into Shogun while she Calm Minds. She goes for a second one, and that's pretty scary, especially because it survived the Night Slash and recovers some HP with the Citrus Berry. This time, we got hit by a +2 Thunderbolt that left us at 6 HP and paralyzed. Luckily, the paralysis didn't stop us, and we hit a final Night Slash to bring down Gothitelle. That was a bit scary. Lastly is Sigilyph, and I send out Air Force that loses a chunk of damage to Ice Beam, and on the next turn, Sigilyph hits a powerful Ice Beam crit that takes out Air Force. This is definitely gonna be an issue. I send out Comet this time that takes way less damage from Shadow Ball than what I thought, and we do massive damage with Thunder Punch, so we only have to tank one last Shadow Ball before finishing Sigilyph, avenging our Air Force. We only have one last member of the Elite Four left to beat, and he uses only fighting types, so I was really counting on Air Force for this one. We go challenge Marshall now that starts with Throw against Comet. That does insane amount of damage with Psychic. We got it with Bulldoze, but thanks to our ability, it doesn't lower our speed. We also recover a bit thanks to Leftovers, and Marshall uses a full restore while we do some damage with Thunder Punch, but we finish him with a Psychic on the next turn. Miancho comes out now, and EU turns into Conkeldurr that takes our powerful Psychic that one-shots it. Well, that went great for us. Marshall sends Miancho back out, but this time he goes for Bounce, but it only does a bit of damage and we one-shot it with Psychic. Lastly is Sock, that does some decent damage with Brick Break, and it survives the Psychic on 1 HP thanks to Sturdy, so all we have to do is to tank one last Brick Break before taking him out and defeat the last Elite Four member. This is it, the last battle of this challenge, and let me tell you, going into the champion battle with only 4 Pokemon is a bit scary. Iris has a pretty solid team, but there's not much we can do now, so let's just see if we can become the Unova champion. Iris starts with a scary Hydreigon, so we bring Comet to the party that takes massive damage from Flamethrower but hits a powerful Hammerheim in return. And I know I'll lose Comet here, but I think this is my best option right now, so we just take the Flamethrower. Now, we can safely send out our trump card, Excadrill, that can outspeed him and finish him with Iron Head. She sends out Druddigon now, and I go for the risky play and Swords Dance, but it does more damage than what I anticipated and nearly one-shot us with Focus Blast. But now, we can just take him out with an Earthquake. Agron shows up, but without Sturdy, it's an easy one-shot. Iris sends out her ace Axorus, that I wasn't sure I would outspeed, but we did, hitting a massive Earthquake that he managed to survive on 1 HP because he had Focus Sash. but Axorus just takes out our Edward with Earthquake. This time, we send out Knight, and since I know she'll use a full restore, we go for Swords Dance. And thanks to our high defense, we can tank an Earthquake from this monster, while doing massive damage with Iron Head. So, we just have to tank one more hit before finishing him with one last Iron Head. We have to face Lapras now, but we are slower than her, so Knight goes down with a Surf. It's time to send out Shogun, our last hope. He hits a huge Iron Head crit to save our lives and take out Lapras. Our last Pokemon is Archeops, that does a bit of damage with Rock Slide, but we just one-shot him with Iron Head, giving us the win against Iris. We did it. It was a close one, but we managed to get the title of the Unova Champion. Let's salute all of our fallen teammates. We couldn't have made it this far without their sacrifices. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting to struggle so much with a Steel-type team. I know that the early to mid game was easy, but the late game was definitely an issue. I wasn't expecting to use Metagross because that thing is busted, but I would have failed without it. Anyway, I just wanna say that I love how much support and positivity you guys have been giving me. I hope you had fun. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you all. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, comment and share it with a friend. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!